So the adpocalypse and being advertiser friendly is something that a lot of you guys, or at least some of you guys, are probably worrying about. I did get a comment asking about this the other day. Derek Baird, I think that's how you say your name. That it seems like that would be the way you say your name. He said he made a video on Rainbow Six Siege and it was demonetized because it wasn't ad friendly, even though from what he recalls he swears maybe twice and it's hell or something like that.
It's been a cold winter and it's lasted far too long.
So what's going on, guys? I'm Cartere from growonyoutube.com, teaching you how to grow on YouTube and be better. In this video I'm going to be going over the advertiser friendly content guidelines, telling you how it relates to you, telling you what you can do to make sure that you're making advertiser friendly content, and I'll be giving you some advice for keeping your videos monetized, and if they do get demonetized, I'll show you exactly how you can submit an appeal. So I did actually film this video in full yesterday, but my mic wasn't connected, so I've got to do it again. But instead of reading out the whole guidelines, which is basically, I've basically done most of that, what I'm going to do, I'll leave the link to this article in the description below this video, so you can click on that to actually read along. But I will basically go over broad strokes of what is eligible for advertising, what you need to do to make sure that your video is eligible for advertising, and what's not eligible for advertising. So controversial issues and sensitive events, that's like if you're talking about war, if you're talking about any sort of event where people died, or where anyone would be, you know, a little pissed off if you was to pick a hard stance on that. Like anything political, maybe even religious stuff might be sensitive and controversial. You know how they say, you know, don't talk about sports, religion or politics. You might not want to be talking about those three things. Obviously, if you're doing it in a hilarious manner and you're not reaching the people who would hate your guts for saying this sort of stuff, then you might be able to keep your videos up, but you never know, it could be demonetized at the drop of a dime. So I'd stay away from things that are super controversial, unless you don't mind it not being demonetized. Like I can make a whole video about my thoughts on religion. I probably should, because it'd be interesting. I'd like to get that out there, but that video would probably not be monetized. But I'm not sure if religion's too deep in there. If I'm talking about religious extremism, that would definitely be demonetized. For example, even if this sort of subject matter is presented for news or documentary purposes, it may still not be eligible for advertising given the subject matter. So don't be talking about recent tragedies or anything like that, otherwise you're probably gonna get your videos demonetized. But if you are going to talk about recent tragedies, for example, if you're making a video and you're just like, the focus of the video isn't about a recent tragedy, but you mention it in your video, then I think that'll be pretty fine. Just don't have it in your tags, don't have it in your title, because the YouTube bot will see that and it will flag your video. I also want to mention that the YouTube bot isn't 100% accurate. So if your video has been flagged and demonetized, that doesn't mean that your video is not advertiser friendly, and it doesn't mean that you can't submit an appeal and get your video back up. The next point is drugs and dangerous products or substances. You basically can't promote the use of drugs or overly glorify it and be gratuitous in your videos. So don't show someone, you know, ODing on heroin or having a really good Friday night with syringes in his arms. If you're smoking something, don't be smoking bongs and shit. But if you were like smoking a spliff or something, you could generally say it's a roll up. But I would generally say in your video, stay away from partaking in drugs and illicit substances. I don't think this actually applies to alcohol or cigarettes, but if you really want to be safe, I'd keep that out of my videos anyways. If you want to be advertiser friendly, you need to think about the way you approach your videos if you want to be advertiser friendly, because think of the term advertiser friendly. It's about your content being what advertisers are comfortable advertising on. So if you just keep that mindset in the creation process, then it'll be much easier for you to avoid, you know, having any disputes or not monetizing a video. The next point is harmful or dangerous acts. Video content that promotes harmful or dangerous acts that result in serious physical, emotional, or psychological injury is not eligible for advertising. Some examples include videos depicting painful or invasive surgeries or cosmetic procedures, or pranks involving sexual harassment or humiliation. Basically, you can't make video content on anything that ends with someone being very upset, or if it even has them being very upset and then they're happy at the end of the video. That kind of thing may, you know, not be allowed for advertising. So try and keep it, you know, all happy, basically, all cool. You don't really want to show anything super dark. You don't really want to show the pain that's going on in the world. Like, if you want to show that, fair enough. Just be aware that you may not be able to get ads on that video. You might not be able to monetize it in any way. Hateful content, so this is basically discriminating against groups or individuals. It also saying that content that is satire or comedy may be exempt, however simply stating your comedic intent is not sufficient, and that content may still not be eligible for advertising. So even if your content is satirical or it's comedy, just saying that won't make it eligible for advertising. It actually needs to be funny to the majority of people, I'm thinking, for YouTube to be like, all right, you know, this is comedy, you know, you're hilarious, a lot of people find you hilarious, your like to dislike ratio is pretty cool. If you're doing anything that's controversial that some people may not enjoy, or a lot of people may hate, like harshly, like may proper hate and feel strongly about, then that content's probably not going to be monetized. So think about that. Inappropriate language, basically excessive swearing. I swear now and then on my videos. I say fuck and shit and all that sort of stuff here and there, but I don't like excessively swear like that song in South Park, if you know about that, the South Park movie. That song is excessive, vulgar, like swearing and whatnot, and that video may be demonetized if they were to upload that, because that is pretty excessive. But as long as you're not, you know, going over the top and being gratuitous with your inappropriate language, then I don't think you'll be demonetized for that. If you say like a swear word like 3 times or even 10 times throughout a 10-minute video or whatever, like 1 swear a minute, I don't think that'll be too bad. Like, if it's just really gratuitous and it kind of, you know, starts to be, I don't know, just starts to be vulgar, then at that point you're probably going to be ineligible for advertising. Context matters. Context matters. So if you're just saying, you know, the F word, you know, consistently for like 20 times and you're not actually talking about anything, there's no context there. So that's probably not eligible for advertising. Inappropriate use of family entertainment characters. This is basically for, you know, those Spider-Man and Elsa videos and that sort of stuff that H3 was talking about, and just in general using family orientated entertainment characters to, you know, show sexual or anything wild that they shouldn't be doing, like inappropriate behavior, because really that is obviously targeted towards children, and to have children watching this sort of thing is just not right. So I agree with this. Even if it's done for comedic or satirical purposes, they're not eligible for advertising. It really should be copyright infringement, but it doesn't seem like they're saying it's copyright infringement at all. They're just saying it's not eligible for advertising if you got them doing inappropriate stuff. It has to be something that's basically within character. So, incendiary and demeaning. Video content that is gratuitously incendiary, inflammatory, or demeaning may not be eligible for advertising. For example, video content that shames or insults an individual or group may not be eligible for advertising. So you can't basically criticize people too hard or make a video rant criticizing someone. Inflammatory is basically like, you can't rally people behind your cause to attack something or some type of person or a group or an individual. Basically, you can't be super negative. It can't be hate speech. I think you can still do critiques, kind of like what H3 does, like the reaction videos where it's like comedy, but you know, it's shining a light on someone that's doing a shitty thing, but that would be very risky. You may still get demonetized. So I don't know. I wouldn't suggest doing that sort of stuff if you want to be advertiser friendly. Sexually suggestive content, we all know what that means. If you're pointing towards your dick, or you're showing your dick, or, you know, not just dicks obviously, but any sexual organ, if there's any allusion to the fact that, you know, that sexual organ is a focal point of the video, or you're talking about it, or, you know, showing that sex may have occurred or is going to occur, then that may not be eligible for advertising. It's also saying content that features sex toys, sexual devices, or explicit conversation about sex may also not be eligible for advertising, with limited exceptions for non-graphic sexual education videos. So basically, no sex. Don't talk about sex in too much depth. Don't show anything that's related to sex. Just no sex unless it's just purely educational. If it's not, then you may be demonetized. Violence. This is basically on the focus of gratuitous violence. So when the focal point is on blood, violence, or injury, when presented without additional context, it is not eligible for advertising. It does say violence in the normal course of video gameplay is generally acceptable for advertising, but montages where gratuitous violence is the focal point are not. So for example, a montage where you show a bunch of kills, but then you do slow motion and show the actual ragdoll physics and the blood and stuff of someone dying, and like zoom in on that and really focus on the violence aspect of that, that will probably be ineligible for advertising. But if you were to just do a kills montage, or, you know, something of that sort, that probably wouldn't be demonetized, as long as, you know, it's done tastefully. Because in my Rainbow Six tip videos, I basically do a montage of, you know, a bunch of kills in the background, but obviously I don't focus on, you know, all the blood and all that sort of stuff. It's just focusing on the fact that, you know, I got that kill at that point in time in the video, and those videos haven't been demonetized or anything of that nature. But one of my videos, one of my tip videos, was demonetized. It was the 4 starting operators, the 4 best starting operators for noobs in Rainbow Six Siege. That was demonetized, but then I submitted it for review and it was remonetized. So there's no problem in you doing kill montages or montages or anything like that. Just don't focus on any graphic violence, basically. So I'm gonna be showing you how to quickly submit an appeal and what your video will look like when it has been demonetized. Now I'm going to be going to one of my podcast videos, a podcast that I was doing a while ago, as we did talk on a bunch of subjects, or talk about a bunch of subjects which are now deemed as not advertiser friendly, of course. So here we are. Here's a video that's been demonetized. It's a not advertiser friendly request review. As you can see, we're talking about the Turkey military coup and France Nice. I think in France Nice there was a van that drove through a group of people or something. I don't really remember, but there were a bunch of wild instances in the world, or in the Western hemisphere anyways, within the same week. So we decided to talk about it and touch on what was going on in the world, basically. So let's go over and look at that. Also, if you want to be advertiser friendly, then make sure you don't have any controversial thing in your titles, your tags, and your descriptions. Like, that is the main things you want to do, because the YouTube bot is likely going to be looking at that sort of stuff. They're probably not going to be actually watching your videos to see what's actually in there. So as long as you just keep it off your title, tags, and descriptions, you probably have better luck avoiding the demonetization. So as you can see, if we click on that little $sign, it brings us to our monetization, and it's telling us your video isn't being monetized because it contains content that might not be appropriate for advertising. And all you want to do is click on this little checkbox, and then you want to go down and you want to go to save changes. Now you may have to do this a couple times for it to actually register. I've had to do it, well, I've had situations where I've done it once and it's registered, and I've had situations where I've had to do it 5 times before it actually submits for review. And then when you click save changes and you go back to your videos and it actually says that it's submitted for review, that yellow let's go back, that yellow $sign should change and it should say that it's submitted for review. Then you probably have to wait around, I'd say maximum a week. You shouldn't be waiting that long. Generally on a quick day, it's been like 24 hours for me to get a turnaround and get my video monetized up again. Otherwise, I think one of my videos took like 3 days before it was monetized again. So the time may vary, but that is how you resubmit your video and hopefully get monetized again. Now, I hope this video helped you out. I hope it taught you how to better align with YouTubers' advertiser guidelines and how to make advertiser friendly videos. Before you leave, guys, I want to tell you about the Grow on YouTube Gaming Facebook group. Now, this is a place where we can come together, support each other, learn about other people's experiences and journeys on YouTube, and you can ask me questions and we can have a discussion about all things YouTube, all things growth, all that sort of stuff. So be sure to click on that link in the description. Come over, become a part of the community, start to grow on YouTube and be better.
It's been a cold winter and it's lasted far too long. So all this warmth I share with you.